Jake Morrison looked out at the strange, swirling light through the window of his spaceship. The bright colors moved like water, spinning faster and faster in the darkness of space. He had been a ship commander for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this before. "Commander, you need to see these readings," said Dr. Lisa Carter as she walked onto the bridge. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking slightly. She had been studying the strange object for 3 weeks now, and each day she looked more worried. Jake turned away from the window and looked at the computer screen Lisa was holding. Numbers filled the screen, but they didn't make sense to him. "What am I looking at, Doc?" "Energy readings that should be impossible," Lisa said. "This thing is putting out more power than our sun." "But it's not natural, Commander. Someone built this." The object they had found was spinning slowly in empty space about the size of a small moon. It looked like a giant whirlpool made of light and energy. When they first discovered it 2 months ago, it had been completely dark. Then one day it just turned on, filling space around it with strange energy waves. "Built by who?" Jake asked. "There's nothing out here. The nearest star system is 50 light years away." "I don't know," Lisa admitted. "But whoever made this understood science way better than we do. The energy patterns are like nothing in our textbooks." Jake felt a strange tingling in his head as he looked at the spinning object again. It had been happening more often lately, like someone was whispering to him from very far away. He had not told anyone about it because he thought he was just tired from the long mission. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Ben Carter from his station. Ben was Lisa's younger brother and handled security for the ship. "We're getting strange reports from the crew." "What kind of reports?" Jake asked. Ben looked uncomfortable. "People are saying they feel different, like they can think clearer than before, and some weird things have been happening." As if to prove his point, Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan walked onto the bridge carrying a heavy toolbox, but she wasn't holding it with her hands. The metal box was floating next to her, glowing with a soft blue light. Everyone on the bridge stopped talking and stared. Kate looked down at the floating toolbox and jumped back in surprise. The box fell to the floor with a loud crash. I don't know how that happened," Kate said, her voice shaking. "I was just thinking about how heavy it was, and then it started floating." Jake felt his heart beating faster. The tingling in his head was getting stronger, and now he could swear he heard voices speaking in languages he didn't understand. But somehow he knew what they were trying to say. "Doc, run a full medical scan on everyone," Jake ordered. "Something is happening to us." Over the next few hours, the medical tests showed impossible results. The crew's brain activity was higher than normal. Their bodies were changing at the cellular level, growing stronger and more efficient, but most strange of all, their DNA was different from when they had started the mission. "Commander," Lisa said as she showed him the test results, "our genetic code is changing. New patterns are appearing that I've never seen before." "Is it dangerous?" Jake asked. "I don't think so," Lisa said slowly. "If anything, we're getting healthier, stronger, smarter, but this shouldn't be possible." That night, Jake couldn't sleep. The voices in his head were getting clearer, and now he could see images too. Ancient cities made of crystal and light. Beings of pure energy moving between the stars. And always, the feeling that something important had been forgotten. He got up and walked to the observation deck. The spinning object was still there, beautiful and mysterious. As he watched, he realized he could see more than just light and color. There were patterns in the energy, like writing in a language he somehow understood. Ben Carter found him there an hour later. The young security officer looked tired and confused. "Sir, I think I'm going crazy," Ben said. "I lifted a cargo container today. With my mind. It weighed 2 tons and I just thought about moving it and it moved." "Show me," Jake said. Ben looked around the observation deck and focused on a chair near the wall. He stared at it with intense concentration. Slowly, the chair began to rise into the air. It floated there for a few seconds before Ben lost focus and it fell back down. "How?" Ben whispered. Jake didn't have an answer, but as he looked at the mysterious object spinning in space, he began to understand that they were all changing into something new, something powerful. The next morning brought more reports from the crew. The ship's cook, Maria Santos, had grown vegetables overnight in the hydroponics bay that should have taken months to mature. Engineer Pete Wilson had fixed a broken engine part just by touching it and concentrating. Navigator Amy Brooks had calculated a hyperspace jump in her head that would normally require the ship's computers. Dr. Lisa Carter called Jake to the medical bay with urgent news. "Commander, I've been comparing our new DNA patterns to old archaeological data, she said. These genetic markers match samples we found in ancient ruins across the galaxy. What ruins? Jake asked. The builder sites, Lisa said. Ruins left by a race that disappeared millions of years ago. They were supposedly the most advanced civilization the galaxy ever saw, but they vanished without a trace. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The voices in his head were getting stronger, and now they were saying one word over and over again. A word in an ancient language that somehow he understood perfectly. Home. Lisa, Jake said quietly. I think we need to contact Earth Command. Something big is happening here, and I don't think we're equipped to handle it alone. But even as he said it, Jake knew it was too late. The change had already begun and there was no stopping it. Humanity was becoming something new, something powerful, and judging by the fear he could sense from the alien ships that had been watching them from a distance, not everyone in the galaxy was going to be happy about it. The object continued to spin in space, patient and eternal, waiting for humanity to remember what it had forgotten so long ago. The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within days of Jake Morrison's report to Earth Command, every major civilization knew about humanity's strange transformation. In the Great Council chamber on the planet Nexus Prime, representatives from hundreds of alien species gathered for an emergency meeting. Ambassador Zethkri of the Vorthan Empire stood at the center of the circular chamber. His tall crystalline body reflected the chamber's lights as he spoke. His voice was filled with disbelief and growing fear. This cannot be real, Zethkri declared. Humans have only been traveling in space for a few hundred years. They are young, primitive. They cannot possess such abilities. But the evidence was impossible to ignore. Reports were coming in from human colonies across the galaxy. Things that should not be possible were happening everywhere humans lived. On the farming world of New Dallas, Pete Jackson had been struggling with his crops for months. The soil was too acidic and nothing would grow properly. Then one morning, he walked into his fields and simply asked the plants to be stronger. Within hours, his crops were growing in soil that should have killed them. The vegetables were bigger and healthier than anything anyone had ever seen. The other farmers thought Pete was using some kind of secret technology. But when they tested his fields, they found no machines, no chemicals, nothing that could explain what was happening. Pete himself didn't understand it either. I just talked to them, he told the investigators, like they could hear me, and they listened. Similar stories were coming from everywhere. On the mining world of Kepler's Rest, worker Amy Rodriguez had been assigned to extract rare metals from deep underground. The work was dangerous and slow. Then one day Amy placed her hands on the rock wall and concentrated. The mountain seemed to understand what she needed. Veins of precious metals rose to the surface, making the mining easy and safe. It's like the planet wants to help us, Amy told her supervisor. I can feel what it's thinking. The most significant contact happened when Captain Steve Williams took his exploration ship, the UES Pioneer, into an area of space that had always been empty. But as his crew approached, beings made of pure energy emerged from what seemed like empty space. These beings called themselves the Zilani. They had been hiding in a pocket dimension for millions of years, avoiding contact with physical species. But something about Steve and his crew drew them out. We sense the old resonance in your kind, the Zilani elder communicated directly into Steve's mind. We have waited so long for the return of those who shaped the stars. Steve felt overwhelmed by the mental contact, but somehow he understood what the Zilani meant. You're talking about the builders, aren't you? Yes, came the reply. The ones who came before. The ones who taught the galaxy to sing in harmony. Your species carries their echo. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Carter had been working day and night to understand what was happening to humanity. Her research team had grown from 5 people to 50 as more scientists volunteered to help. What they discovered changed everything. The genetic markers aren't new, Lisa announced during a video conference with world leaders. They were always there, hidden in our DNA. The anomaly didn't give us these abilities. It just turned them on. President Helen Burke leaned forward in her chair. Are you saying all humans have this potential? Not just humans, Lisa said. We've found the same dormant patterns in genetic samples from builder ruins across the galaxy. Commander Morrison and his crew were just the first to activate because they were closest to the source. What source? Asked General Frank Torres, head of Earth Defense. Lisa brought up a holographic display showing the mysterious spinning object. We think it's some kind of awakening device. The builders left it here as a beacon. When humans developed enough to find it, it would activate our true heritage. The implications were staggering. If humans were descended from the builders, the legendary race that had supposedly created many of the galaxy's wonders before vanishing, then humanity's potential was unlimited. This possibility terrified the established powers of the galaxy. The Galactic Council, dominated by ancient species that had ruled space for thousands of years, saw humanity's awakening as a direct threat to their authority. Admiral Krotek of the Hegemony, a military alliance of the galaxy's most aggressive species, addressed the Council with barely controlled anger. The builders nearly destroyed the galaxy with their arrogance, Krotek said. They thought they could reshape reality according to their will. That's why they had to be stopped. The histories say they disappeared, reminded Counselor Nex of the Wisdom Keepers. They were made to disappear, Krotek replied coldly, by those wise enough to understand the danger they represented. Now their descendants threatened to repeat the same mistakes. Unknown to the Council, their entire debate was being monitored by Jake Morrison. His abilities had grown stronger each day, and now he could perceive events happening light years away. He watched the alien leaders argue about humanity's fate, with a mixture of sadness and determination. Jake was no longer entirely human in the way he had been before. His consciousness could extend beyond his physical body, touching the quantum fields that connected all things, but his heart remained human, filled with love for his species and hope for the future. He called together the other awakened humans for a mental conference. Ben Carter joined from his security post, his mind now able to interface directly with the ship's computers. Kate Sullivan connected from the engineering deck, where she had been teaching the ship's systems to repair themselves. Dr. Carter linked in from Earth, her consciousness spanning multiple research facilities simultaneously. They're scared of us, Jake told the group. The galaxy's leaders think we're going to become like the builders and try to control everything. Are we? Asked Ben. I mean, with these abilities, we could probably force them to do whatever we want. That's exactly what they're afraid of, Lisa said. But it's also why we have to prove them wrong. We need to show the galaxy that power doesn't have to corrupt. Kate Sullivan, monitoring the ship's long-range sensors, detected something troubling. Jake, we've got company. A large fleet is approaching from the direction of Hegemony space. Jake expanded his awareness and saw the approaching ships, hundreds of them, armed with the most advanced weapons the galaxy had ever developed. They were coming to test humanity's new abilities and possibly to destroy them if they proved too dangerous. How long until they reach us? Jake asked. 6 hours at their current speed, Kate replied. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The decisions made in the next few hours would determine not just the fate of his crew, but possibly the future of humanity itself. Then we'd better figure out what we're going to do about it, Jake said. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see whether humanity would use its newfound power wisely, or become the very threat that everyone feared. Admiral Krotek stood on the bridge of his flagship, the destroyer of worlds, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. Behind him stretched a fleet of over 3,000 ships from dozens of species, all united in their fear of what humanity was becoming. All ships report ready, Admiral, his tactical officer announced. Krotek nodded grimly. He had fought in wars across the galaxy for over 2 centuries. He had seen civilizations rise and fall, watched species destroy themselves with their own ambitions. The builders had been before his time, but the stories were passed down through military academies as a warning of what happened when beings gained too much power too quickly. They will resist, Krotek said to his assembled commanders over the communication system. Their pride will not allow them to submit quietly. Be prepared for anything. These humans may look weak, but if they truly carry builder heritage, they are more dangerous than anything we have faced. 6 light-years away, Jake Morrison felt the weight of the approaching threat. His consciousness had expanded far beyond what any human had ever experienced. He could perceive the quantum strings that connected all matter, feel the thoughts and emotions of every person on his ship, and even sense the fear radiating from the alien fleet heading their way. But he was still human enough to feel nervous. How many ships are we facing? Jake asked Kate Sullivan, who was monitoring their sensors. 3,412, Kate replied. They have enough firepower to destroy entire solar systems. And how many ships do we have? Ben Carter asked from his station. 197, Jake said. Against normal odds, we wouldn't stand a chance. Dr. Lisa Carter's voice came through the communication system from Earth. Jake, I've been analyzing the energy patterns from our awakened humans across the colonies. Our abilities seem to be growing stronger when we work together. What do you mean? Jake asked. I mean that individual humans can do amazing things, but when we connect our consciousness, our power increases exponentially. Pete Jackson on New Dallas has been working with Amy Rodriguez on Kepler's Rest. Even though they're light years apart, they can share their abilities. Jake felt a spark of hope. Are you suggesting we link all the awakened humans together? More than that, Lisa said. I think we can link with our technology too. Our ships, our weapons, everything. If humans really are descended from the builders, then maybe we can do what they did. Work in harmony with the universe instead of fighting against it. The first test came sooner than expected. Krotek's advanced scouts arrived at the edge of human space and began probing the defenses of the nearest colony. The world of Haven's Rest was home to only 50,000 people, with minimal military protection. But when the alien ships attacked, something unexpected happened. The colony's defense coordinator, Mary Ellis, felt the approach of the enemy vessels like a cold wind in her mind. She had been one of the early humans to awaken, and her abilities had been growing stronger each day. Now, faced with the threat to her people, something new activated within her. Mary reached out with her consciousness and touched the minds of every human on the planet. Suddenly, 50,000 people were connected in a single network of thought and will. The planet's defense systems, which should have been overwhelmed in minutes, began operating with impossible efficiency. Instead of firing traditional weapons at the attacking ships, the defense platform sent out waves of pure intention. The alien missiles simply forgot their targets and flew harmlessly into space. Enemy fighter craft found their weapon systems refusing to work, as if the machines themselves had decided that violence was wrong. What is happening? Demanded the lead alien pilot as his targeting computer displayed error messages in languages it shouldn't know. Mary's voice somehow reached him across the vacuum of space, speaking directly into his mind. We don't want to hurt you. Please leave our world in peace. The alien pilot felt something he had never experienced before, a sense of calm, of understanding, of connection to something larger than himself. For a moment he could see the universe through human eyes, full of wonder and possibility instead of constant conflict. Without firing another shot, the alien ships withdrew. News of Haven's Rest reached Admiral Krotek within hours. His reaction was immediate and terrifying. They didn't fight, he told his commanders. They changed the enemy's mind. Do you understand what this means? They can affect our thoughts, our technology, our very will to fight. This is exactly what the builders could do. The main confrontation came at the asteroid belt of Earth's solar system. Jake Morrison, now commanding a fleet of human ships that seemed to operate more like living beings than machines, faced Krotek's massive armada. The alien fleet spread across space in perfect formation, their weapons charged and ready. The human ships moved with fluid grace like a school of fish swimming through an ocean of stars. Human Commander, Krotek's voice boomed across all communication channels. Surrender now and accept containment. Your species will be relocated to a secure system where you can develop safely under our supervision. Jake's response was calm and measured. Admiral Krotek, we have no desire to threaten anyone. We only want to live in peace and explore the universe. A peace? Krotek laughed harshly. The builders spoke of peace too, right before they began reshaping star systems to suit their desires. You are too dangerous to be left free. The battle began not with explosions and laser fire, but with something much stranger. Lieutenant Commander Rick Hayes, piloting a modified fighter, found himself facing a squadron of enemy ships. Instead of targeting their hulls or engines, Rick reached out with his consciousness and gently touched the guidance systems of their missiles. You're confused, he whispered to the electronic brains controlling the weapons. You've forgotten what you're supposed to hit. Across the battlefield, human pilots were performing impossible maneuvers. Their ships moved like they were alive, dodging attacks that should have been unavoidable, healing damage that should have been fatal. Kate Sullivan, now merged with her ship systems, discovered she could perceive the emotional states of the alien crews. Through this connection, she began broadcasting feelings of peace and understanding. We're not your enemy, her message spread through the alien fleet. We're all part of the same universe, all connected by the same quantum fields that bind matter and energy together. One by one, alien ships began to power down their weapons. Not because they were forced to, but because their crews were beginning to understand something they had never considered before. The universe was not a place of constant competition and conflict. It could be a place of cooperation and growth. Admiral Krotek watched his fleet's attack fall apart with growing horror. His ships were not being destroyed or captured. They were being convinced to stop fighting. All vessels ignore any mental influences, he broadcast frantically. These humans are using psychological warfare. Remember your duty, but it was too late. The human ability to connect consciousness worked both ways. As they touched the minds of the alien crews, they also shared human emotions and memories. The aliens experienced human love, curiosity, hope, and dreams of a better future. Captain Steve Williams, his consciousness now spanning multiple dimensions thanks to his contact with the Zilani, perceived something that changed everything. He could see the quantum threads that connected all consciousness in the galaxy, and he realized that every species was part of a vast, interconnected web of awareness. Admiral Krotek, Steve's voice reached the alien commander directly. Look through my eyes for just a moment. See what we see. Against his better judgment, Krotek allowed the contact. For one brief instant, he experienced the universe as humans did. Instead of a hostile place full of competitors and threats, he saw a cosmic symphony where every species played a unique and valuable part. The vision lasted only seconds, but it shattered Krotek's certainty. In that moment, he understood why the Builders had been so powerful. They hadn't sought to dominate the universe. They had sought to help it reach its full potential. Retreat, Krotek ordered quietly. Then louder. All ships retreat to safe distance. As the alien fleet pulled back, Krotek sent one final message to the humans. You have proven your point today. But power like yours has consequences. The galaxy will be watching to see what you do with it. Jake Morrison, exhausted from the mental effort of the battle, knew that Krotek was right. Humanity had passed its first test, but greater challenges lay ahead. They had shown they could defend themselves without destroying their enemies. Now they had to prove they could use their power to help the galaxy instead of ruling it. The real test was just beginning. 3 months after the battle with Admiral Krotek's fleet, humanity faced a problem they had not expected. Their victory had created fear across the galaxy, but it had also created something worse within human society itself. President Helen Burke stood in the emergency session of the World Council on Earth, looking at reports from human colonies across space. The news was troubling. We have humans who think they're gods, reported General Frank Torres. On the colony of New Horizon, a group led by someone named Colonel Mary Ellis has declared themselves the rulers of their sector. They're using their abilities to force other species to obey them. Dr. Lisa Carter, attending the meeting through holographic projection, looked tired and worried. Her research into human abilities had revealed disturbing possibilities. The power is growing faster than our understanding of it, Lisa explained. Some humans are losing touch with their humanity. They see themselves as superior to everyone else in the galaxy. The reports painted a concerning picture. On the industrial world of Steel Harbor, a human named Director Paul Rogers had taken control of the planet's mining operations. He used his mental abilities to make the alien workers more efficient, but he treated them like machines rather than living beings. They work without complaint now, Rogers had reported to Earth Command. No more strikes, no more demands for better conditions. I simply convinced their minds that they enjoy the work. Even more troubling was the situation on the research station Omega-7. Dr. Patricia Wells, one of the most advanced awakened humans, had begun experimenting with consciousness manipulation on volunteer subjects from various species. I can rewrite their personalities, she reported with disturbing enthusiasm. Remove fear, anger, sadness. I can make them perfectly happy and perfectly obedient. Jake Morrison, who had become humanity's unofficial leader among the awakened, felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. His own abilities had grown beyond anything he had imagined possible. He could perceive reality at the quantum level, manipulate matter with his thoughts, and connect his consciousness across vast distances. But with that power came temptation. It would be so easy to use his abilities to solve problems quickly, to make difficult decisions for other people, to create a perfect society where everyone was happy because he had made them that way. We're becoming the very thing the galaxy fears, Jake told his inner circle during one of their mental conferences. Ben Carter, Kate Sullivan, and Dr. Lisa Carter all shared his concerns. Some of our people think that having these abilities means we should use them to fix everything, Ben said. But forcing people to be better isn't the same as actually being better. The crisis came to a head when the Scourge arrived. The first reports came from the galaxy's edge, where deep space monitoring stations detected something impossible. Entire star systems were simply disappearing from sensors. Not destroyed, not abandoned, but completely erased as if they had never existed. Captain Steve Williams, exploring the outer reaches of known space with his enhanced perception abilities, was the first to make contact with the threat. What he found defied understanding. The Scourge appeared to be a massive swarm of entities that existed partially outside normal space-time. They consumed everything in their path, but not in the way a normal predator would. They absorbed matter, energy, and even the basic structure of reality itself. It's like they're unmaking the universe, Steve reported back to Earth. Wherever they go, space itself becomes empty. Not just lacking matter, but lacking the potential for matter to exist. Within days, 3 entire star systems had been consumed. Billions of beings, dozens of species simply ceased to exist. The Scourge moved through space like a cosmic infection, growing stronger with everything they absorbed. The Galactic Council, faced with extinction, did something unprecedented. They sent a message directly to Earth, asking for humanity's help. Ambassador Zethkri, who had opposed humanity so strongly just months before, appeared on screens across human space. His crystalline form was dimmer than usual, and his voice carried a desperation that transcended species barriers. "People of Earth," Zethkri began, "we were wrong to fear you. We see that now. Our pride blinded us to the truth that you tried to show us. We ask, no, we beg for your forgiveness and your aid. The Scourge threatens all life in the galaxy. Only you have the power to stop them." The message was followed by similar pleas from dozens of other species. Even Admiral Krotek transmitted a simple message. "We were wrong. Please help us." Jake Morrison found himself facing the ultimate test of human power and wisdom. The galaxy that had tried to contain humanity was now begging for salvation. But Dr. Lisa Carter had discovered something that changed everything. "Jake, I've been analyzing the energy signatures of the Scourge," Lisa reported during an emergency meeting. "They're not just random destroyers. They're some kind of cosmic immune system." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "The universe has natural mechanisms to maintain balance," Lisa explained. "When something threatens the fundamental structure of reality, these mechanisms activate to eliminate the threat. The builders didn't disappear, Jake. They triggered this response eons ago." The implication was staggering. The Scourge had been created to stop beings who gained too much power over reality. The builders had ascended to such a high level of consciousness that the universe itself had tried to eliminate them. And now we're doing the same thing, Jake realized. Our abilities are growing so fast that we're becoming a threat to cosmic stability. "Not just us," Lisa said grimly. "Every awakened human, every use of our abilities is sending signals across quantum space. We're telling the universe that another builder-level species is emerging." Captain Amy Foster, commanding the research vessel UES Discovery, made the most crucial discovery. Her consciousness had merged so completely with her ship that she could perceive the Scourge's true nature. "They're not evil," she reported. "They're trying to preserve the universe by eliminating threats to its stability. But they can't tell the difference between someone who wants to help and someone who wants to control." The solution came from an unexpected source. The Zilani, the energy beings that had first contacted Steve Williams, emerged from their dimensional hiding place with a message of hope. The builders learned too late that true power comes not from imposing will upon the universe, but from joining with its natural harmony. The Zilani elder communicated, "Your species still has time to choose the correct path." Jake Morrison made a decision that would define humanity's future. Instead of using their power to fight the Scourge, he proposed something that terrified even him. "We're going to make contact with them," Jake announced. "We're going to show them that consciousness can evolve without threatening cosmic balance." "That's suicide," protested General Torres. "They'll absorb us like they absorbed everything else." "Maybe," Jake admitted. "But if we try to fight them, We'll prove that we're exactly the kind of threat they were created to eliminate. We have to show them there's another way. Dr. Patricia Wells, despite her controversial experiments, volunteered for the mission. I've learned how to communicate with non-human consciousness, she said. If anyone can talk to them, it's me. The plan was desperate and dangerous. A small fleet of human ships would approach the Scourge directly, not as conquerors or warriors, but as beings seeking understanding. They would open their consciousness completely, sharing not just their thoughts but their fundamental nature. As the volunteer fleet prepared to depart, Jake sent a message to all of humanity. We stand at a crossroads, he said. We can use our power to force our will upon the universe, or we can use it to find our place in the cosmic order. Today we choose to risk everything on the hope that understanding is stronger than force. The galaxy watched and waited as humanity prepared for the most important first contact in galactic history, not with another species but with the universe's own immune system. The outcome would determine not just humanity's fate, but whether consciousness itself had a future in the cosmos. The human fleet approached the edge of Scourge territory like moths flying toward a flame that could consume reality itself. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, no longer entirely human but not yet something else. His consciousness existed in multiple dimensions at once, yet his heart remained anchored to the species he was trying to save. Behind him followed 50 ships crewed by humanity's most awakened individuals. Each person had volunteered knowing they might not return, but believing that understanding was worth the risk. Captain Amy Foster led the way in her ship, the UES Harmony. Her consciousness had merged so completely with her vessel that it was hard to tell where the ship ended and she began. Through her enhanced perception, she could see the Scourge ahead like a massive storm made of unmaking itself. Contact in 30 minutes, Amy reported, her voice carrying across quantum space to reach every human in the fleet. I can feel them now. They're curious about us. Dr. Patricia Wells, aboard the research vessel UES Understanding, was monitoring the consciousness patterns of both the human fleet and the approaching Scourge. What she discovered was both terrifying and hopeful. Jake, they're not just destroyers, Patricia reported. They're evaluators. They study each species they encounter, trying to determine if it's a threat to cosmic stability. And what's their conclusion about us? Jake asked. They're still deciding, Patricia said quietly. The Scourge entities were unlike anything anyone had ever encountered. They existed partially outside normal space-time, appearing as shifting geometric forms that hurt to look at directly. Each entity was the size of a small moon, and there were thousands of them moving in perfect coordination. As the human fleet drew closer, Jake felt the weight of the Scourge's attention. It was like being examined by the universe itself. Every thought and intention laid bare under cosmic scrutiny. Then the contact began. The communication didn't come in words or images, but in pure concept transmitted directly into human consciousness. The message was overwhelming in its complexity, but its meaning was clear. Why do you approach? Your species shows the patterns of the builders. You manipulate reality through consciousness. You must be contained or eliminated. Amy Foster, serving as the primary communication point, responded with humanity's most fundamental truth. We seek understanding, not dominion. We want to grow with the universe, not control it. The response came immediately. The builders spoke similar words. They began with noble intentions. But power corrupts. Consciousness that can reshape matter inevitably tries to reshape all existence. Jake Morrison joined the mental conversation, opening his mind completely to show the Scourge what humanity truly was. He shared memories of human love, creativity, sacrifice, and the endless capacity to change and grow. He showed them humans choosing to help others even at cost to themselves. But he also showed them the darker side. Colonel Mary Ellis and her authoritarian rule. Director Paul Rogers treating alien workers like machines. Dr. Wells's experiments in personality manipulation. Jake hid nothing, sharing both humanity's potential for good and evil. You see, the Scourge responded. Already your species divides into those who serve and those who seek to rule. This is how the builders began. This is how they ended. How did they end? Amy asked. The answer came as a flood of images and sensations. The Scourge showed them the final days of the builders, a species that had grown so powerful they believed they could improve the universe by reorganizing it according to their will. They had reshaped entire galaxies, moved star systems like chess pieces, and created perfect worlds where every being lived in harmony. But their perfection was forced, not chosen. The builders had eliminated free will in the name of happiness, removed suffering by removing the ability to feel pain, created peace by making war impossible to imagine. They became the universe's tyrants, the Scourge communicated. Benevolent, perhaps, but tyrants nonetheless. So we were activated to restore balance. You destroyed them? Jake asked. We absorbed them, came the reply. Their consciousness, their knowledge, their power, all became part of the cosmic balance they had disrupted. They still exist, in a way, but as servants of universal law rather than its masters. Dr. Lisa Carter, monitoring the conversation from Earth, realized something crucial. Jake asked them about choice. Ask them what would happen if a species chose not to use their power to control others. Jake posed the question, and felt the Scourge's confusion. Choice? All advanced species seek control. It is the nature of consciousness to impose order on chaos. Not all consciousness, Amy Foster interjected. She opened her mind wider, showing the Scourge something unprecedented. Instead of using her abilities to control her ship, she worked in partnership with it. Instead of forcing solutions to problems, she collaborated with reality itself to find better ways forward. Ben Carter joined the mental link from his ship, demonstrating how he used his powers not to command, but to protect. Kate Sullivan showed how she worked with technology as a partner, rather than a master. One by one, every human in the fleet opened their consciousness to the Scourge, showing a way of existence that the cosmic entities had never encountered before. A species that gained power but chose to use it responsibly. Beings who could reshape reality but instead chose to understand it. The Scourge's response was something like astonishment. This is unprecedented. You possess builder-level abilities but do not seek builder-level control. We seek growth, Jake explained. Not for ourselves alone, but for all consciousness. We want to help the universe become more than it was, not force it to be what we think it should be. For the first time in cosmic history, the Scourge paused in their advance. The entities hung in space like frozen geometric storms, processing information that challenged their fundamental programming. If this is true, they communicated, if your species can evolve without threatening cosmic balance, then perhaps the cycle can be broken. Amy Foster had an inspiration. Let us show you. Come with us back to the galaxy. See how we interact with other species. Judge us not by our potential for harm, but by our actual choices. The risk was enormous. Bringing the Scourge into populated space could result in the elimination of billions of beings. But it was also the only way to prove humanity's true nature. The journey back took weeks, with human ships traveling alongside Scourge entities in an unprecedented convoy. Along the way, something remarkable happened. The Scourge began to understand not just human consciousness, but consciousness itself in a new way. They observed how humans worked with other species rather than ruling them. They saw Pete Jackson teaching alien farmers his methods while learning from their techniques. They watched Amy Rodriguez collaborating with non-human miners to find better ways to extract resources without harming planetary ecosystems. Most importantly, they witnessed humanity's response to their own people who abused their power, instead of allowing Colonel Mary Ellis to continue her authoritarian rule. Awakened humans worked together to help her understand the difference between leadership and control. When the convoy reached the galaxy's core, where the Galactic Council waited in terror, the Scourge made an announcement that changed everything. This species shows unprecedented wisdom. They possess the power to remake the universe, but choose instead to help it grow naturally. They will be allowed to continue their evolution. But the Scourge had one more revelation. The builders are not gone. Their consciousness exists within us, and through our judgment we offer them a choice. Remain as part of cosmic law, or accept rebirth as guides for younger species. Jake Morrison felt a presence touch his mind, ancient and vast beyond comprehension. The collective consciousness of the builders, preserved within the Scourge for millions of years, spoke to him with voices like distant stars. We choose to serve, rather than rule, they said. Through you, through all growing consciousness, we will help the universe reach its true potential. The transformation that followed was visible across the galaxy. The Scourge entities began to change, their geometric forms becoming more organic, more alive. They were evolving from cosmic antibodies into cosmic gardeners, helping species grow and develop while preventing the kind of catastrophic mistakes the builders had made. Jake Morrison returned to Earth, fundamentally changed. His consciousness now spanned dimensions, but his humanity remained intact. He had learned the most important lesson in the universe. True power was not the ability to control, but the wisdom to know when not to use it. Dr. Lisa Carter established the Cosmic Academy on Luna, where beings from across the galaxy could come to learn about consciousness, responsibility, and the delicate balance between growth and stability. Her first lesson to every student was simple but profound. Power without wisdom is just another form of destruction. Humanity took its place in the galaxy not as rulers, but as teachers and students. They helped other species awaken their own consciousness while learning from alien wisdom and experience. The galaxy that had once trembled in terror at human power now looked to humanity with hope. The Builders' legacy lived on, not in monuments to their power, but in the countless species they now helped to grow. Through human hands and hearts they had found redemption, and in the quantum foam that connected all consciousness, Jake Morrison's voice echoed across the cosmos with a message of hope. The universe